Welcome back. Kofi Annan Commission on Elections and Democracy has called for urgent action by governments, business and civil society to protect democracy from digital threats. The growing use of digital technologies during elections have become a source of concern in recent years. This after claims of election rigging in the past U.S. presidential campaign and their role in mobilizing protesters in recent protests in Hong Kong. To tell us more on the benefits and perhaps the unintended consequences of the deployment of digital technologies in elections, we are joined via Skype from the United States by William Sweeney, former president and CEO of the International Foundation for Electoral Systems. William, good evening and thank you for joining us on The Globe.
I'm delighted to be with you.
Now, William, broadly talk to us about the power and the influence of digital technologies in building and the sustainability of functional democracies.
Digital technology has become the lifeblood for all of our communications, be it political or social, governmental, or personal. Our information is in databases. Our communication is more immediate and rapid because of it. We are able to share more and learn more as a society and as individuals. And this is absolutely critical to democratic debate, particularly during the political periods when we choose our leaders through a campaign and ultimately at a ballot box. All of this technology works together. However, there are unintended consequences and sometimes abuse,
Now, the report rightly highlights the impact of digital technologies on recent U.S. elections and protests in Hong Kong. How vulnerable are African countries to these threats, given the lag effect of digital access on the continent?
Africa is as vulnerable as any part of the world to abuse of digital technology and communication. We've seen this in a multiple of African elections. There's also the challenge of being able to build confidence. When there are rumors that the system has been hacked or there have been inappropriate engagement by political parties, by foreign interests, this undermines the democratic process. And the democratic process is absolutely core to building and maintaining democratic society.
Now, how can countries protect themselves against digital threats?
There are a number of things that countries have to do. The first and foremost is have a serious conversation with political party leadership, company leadership, civil society, and the media, so as to come to a societal solution for what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. All too often, these issues are not engaged until the height of the political season. It's far better to have these discussions literally years before the election so that everyone can have trust going forward into the campaign period.
Now, William, surely digital technologies can also be useful during elections as societies transition into fully fledged democracies. What would you say are the benefits, particularly for countries that are still at the infancy of a digital revolution?
First of all, African countries are the leaders in terms of voter identification procedures. Their voter identification cards use biometrics, use fingerprints, use color photographs that are of a high quality and resolution. And so in addressing the question, which is the starting question, voter identification, African countries are among the leaders. The Nigerian and Kenyan and other voter cards are among the most sophisticated in the world.
Now,
And so Africa is already engaged in this process in a serious way.
Now, there's so many players involved in elections with different vested interests, from the parties contesting elections, corporates behind them, election monitors, and to the social media players. How do you ensure that all these players respect the integrity of the election process and play by the same rules?
There has to be a dialogue, and that dialogue has to be led by the government using its power to bring forth all parties into a solid framework discussion. If you do not engage all parts of the political process, the political ecosystem, if you will, then you're going to have the product not worthy of the discussion. And that's one of the reasons why the Kofi Annan Commission is calling for governments, civil society, platform companies, political parties, and all the vested interests in democracy act and act now, well ahead of the political season.
William, thank you so much for joining us this evening. That was William Sweeney, former president and CEO of the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, joining us via Skype.